Okay, first off, we're not even dating. Second of all, I don't even like him. Third, he's probably running out of fuel soon, so God knows if he'll ever make it back here.
I'm back, bitches!
Welcome to WYCD Wicked, that stands for What You Can Do. My name's Jake, and it is awesome to be back. Thank you so much for being so sweet to me while I was out. Delighted to be returning and delighted to be here at Friday Piece Talks. Yes, indeed, that is where we take suggestions from the audience and look at them together. We do a blind look, and I generally heckle them in a loving way. Here is the link. If you are interested in sharing a piece, I've just shared it in chat right now. I'm going to pin this here. There you go. Wireless mic. Hi, guys. Well, hello. I'll be listening from the kitchen while I make dinner. I'll join in when I can. Good to see you again. Hope everybody's doing well. Good to see you, Wireless Mike. Oh, my word. And Anticorporatus, good luck on your drive. Wicked Foxy Dragon, hello. It is indeed a Foxy Friday. And for the record, Zoe's a good girl. Yes, she is. Oh, mercy me. I'm going to win her over bit by bit. I wanted to get started with real quick one. Because here's a situation that is developing and probably deserving of an intro. What do you say? Senator Dianne Feinstein has been serving since 1824, I believe. She's been there for a while. She's got a long history. Senator from California. She's not doing well mentally. She's suffered some pretty obvious cognitive decline. We go through this with politicians from time to time. We went through this with Reagan. We went through this. I cannot tell you with how many older senators this happens. It happens. At the end of the day, it is, in my humble opinion, not up to us to put in a regulation saying somebody can't serve past this point or they're limited by this, that, or the other thing. It's the people's responsibility to elect somebody that's going to represent them well. And if they chose to elect Feinstein despite her age, that has to be respected, their ability to make that choice. That said, at a certain point, we must be honest when someone is not able to serve any longer. That decision's got to be made at some point. Here is some rather unfortunate evidence that that time has come with Dianne Feinstein. On the other side of this, we're going to talk about why she's still there. But let's look at her current state.
We're now hearing the taped interaction between California Senator Dianne Feinstein and a Los Angeles Times reporter that has people talking about her cognitive state.
No, I haven't been gone.
Okay.
You should follow me. I haven't been gone. I've been working.
You've been working from home is what you're saying?
No, I've been here. I've been voting.
Although South Bay Congressman Ro Khanna has called for Feinstein to resign, most of the senator's California colleagues are not saying anything about the exchange, and no one in the Senate has publicly called for her resignation.
California Congress members still understand the power that she has and the connections that she has. The Senate Republicans have said they would not support the Democrats putting someone else in Feinstein's place.
Feinstein supporters say the senator may not.
Jesus, look at Bernie there. Oh, that brother is he's trying to be nice, but good Lord, you can see the doubt on his face.
Have clearly heard the reporter's question and responded to what she thought he asked her.
Not an ideal situation. Well, let me just check my my notes here. Since 100% of you are also fans of the Majority Report, you'll have heard this as well. But it's become known that Nancy Pelosi's daughter works for Dianne Feinstein. We cannot get rid of Pelosi. Real quick, as a side note, no matter where you live, if a Pelosi ends up running for office, if any of the spawn of that devil try to become a leader in your area, vote against them. Vote against them. The Pelosis have got to go. Do I know that Nancy Pelosi's daughter is as much of scum as Pelosi is? No, I don't know that. But I assume, just based on the character Nancy Pelosi has shown, I'm going to assume her daughters have been raised with that same lack of character and are trying to use Dianne Feinstein like a puppet. Should Dianne Feinstein be there? No, she should not. She is unwell. Let's just assume, let's take it in good faith that she answered that question having misunderstood it. And she thought that instead of the 90-plus votes that she missed, that the reporter was talking about her being back in the last couple of days. Let's just assume that's the case. Any other politician, any politician who was functioning correctly would come out and say, yeah, that's what I was talking about. I was talking about the last week. People need to relax. It would address the topic for the public. They would put the public's concerns, their legitimate concerns, at ease. So earlier I said, people should be able to vote for Feinstein if they want, and now I'm saying Feinstein should go. Is that contradictory? No. The whole point is to have the people represented by who they choose. In either scenario, the people are not being represented by who they chose. They're not being represented by Feinstein right now. They're being represented by her handlers. That's not who they voted for. There are no regulations making sure that those handlers have their taxes disclosed to the people, have their backgrounds exposed for the people to make an informed decision. She's clearly not doing well. But why would Nancy Pelosi, why would the Democrats, why would the political machine keep her there? Well, partially you might assume it's for nefarious reasons. Maybe Nancy Pelosi is trying to keep the seat open for Adam Schiff, her little gremlin protege. Maybe. There's also the fact, though, that Republicans are not going, by their own words, they're not going to replace her with whoever takes Feinstein's seat. So if if we live in the brighter future where Barbara Lee is put in Feinstein's spot, and Gavin Newsom keeps his word, which I don't know why he gave in the first place, because it's ridiculous to do this, but okay, he keeps his word and gives the position to a black woman, is what he said he would do. All right, I like Barbara Lee a hell of a lot more than Schiff. Good. But Barbara Lee isn't going to get to vote on those seats, on the appointments. Neither's Adam Schiff. So what to do? Leave Feinstein there, get the votes out of her that you can? I suppose. If you're talking about what is tactically the best thing to do, believe it or not, tactically the best thing to do is to leave Feinstein where she is, squeeze all the votes you can out of her last hours of life, and toss away the husk. That's tactically the best thing to do. There's a phrase in the spy game, I'm told. Would you sell your mother to a whorehouse? It means, would you do anything? I would not. I'll go to the whorehouse. Hell, I'll work at the whorehouse. Not going to sell my mother. Similarly, in the brothel that is Washington, we have to define for ourselves and for the public who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. Not going to lie. If Feinstein retires, the American people will suffer. They're going to suffer because important judicial appointments will not get through. At least not until we win thoroughly in 2024. It makes that race so much more important. But we have to be the good guys at the end of the day. And if you want to make it more likely that 2024 is indeed a victory, we should probably demonstrate that for the American people. And a great way to demonstrate that would be to not make a woman who is clearly suffering physically in her twilight days, not make her play this game anymore. Give it some thought. Let's see what the wicked community has to say. Oh, good. I've shut off my monitor. Hey, all right, we're back. Oh, Stuart Brooks. Barbara Boxer was elected to the Senate same year as Feinstein, and she retired 6 years ago. And Boxer is 7 years younger than Feinstein. Yeah. Yeah. It's well past time. Wicked Foxy Dragon and Jim Green. Wicked Foxy Dragon says, I'm all in for Porter. Unfortunately, I don't live in Cali. Yeah, I really like Katie Porter as well. The anti-corporator says, I thought that one of her daughters was a progressive. Maybe. Just to be safe, I would by default, let me put it like this. Yeah. By default, I'm going to strongly be against any one with an association at all with Nancy Pelosi to not, I'll just be against them by default. If they wind up being extraordinarily progressive and vocally progressive I will look at that with an honest gaze. But it's going to take work. They're going to have to show rather than tell, for sure, because Pelosi is a liar, and I believe that her daughters will have grown up believing that it's okay to lie to the American people, because otherwise their mom's a bad person, and that would be too hard to swallow. If it meant AOC would be president, says Jim Green. Sorry, Mom. Oh, my God. Mars Falcon, aloha, Wicked Fire. Oh, hell, well, you guys are just the sweetest. Zick says they couldn't afford her. My mom was the adolescent son's nightmare. When your bud says... Oh, let me read that back. Mars Falcon says, so long as they ramp up pumping out non-fascist judges, I can endure another year and a half of Feinstein. I'm in NorCal and will be voting for Porter. Yes. At the end of the day, that's all that matters. Zick says they couldn't afford her. My mom was the adolescent son's nightmare. When your bud says to you aside one day, you know your mom's hot, right? The only answer is yes, I know. Can we change the subject? Oh, the woes of having a hot mom. Look, that's the price you got to pay for having hot genetics. So enjoy those, you lucky son of a bitch. I gotta deal with this. I'm hot from like one angle. One angle. If I turn even slightly to the side, the beak gives it away. It's no good. Also, when I talk, it all goes away. So, All right, I got one more for you before we get to audience suggestions here. I really want to talk about this. I meant to yesterday, then I forgot. I was going to record something after the show. Stand by. We're gonna record this puppy. Hey, here's a fun fact. Matt Gaetz is a rapist. He engaged in the crime of sex trafficking. And I would like to take this moment to invite Mr. Gaetz to sue me, you little bitch. You see, what he did with his associate, Joel Greenberg, what he did was pay a 17-year-old for sexual intercourse, and these were tracked with Venmo. So it's a matter of record that he paid a child to have sex with him. And he transported that child across state lines for these purposes. That makes him a child rapist who engaged in child sex trafficking. And he should be in prison. But we are in a corrupt system. So instead, only his pal, Joel Greenberg, is in prison for that, the child rape that he engaged in. Hey, let's look at this news about it, because we got an update.
Everyone, welcome to the show. So an associate of convicted sex trafficker Joel Greenberg has pleaded guilty to sex trafficking.
Real quick, this is by Raw News and Politics. Check out her channel. Let's be a little more dignified there. Apologize. Check out her channel if you haven't already, because she is fantastic. She tends to follow the courts. She's an avid court watcher. I usually hear updates on court goings-on from her about a day before I hear it on the major news channels on cable. So if you want to know what's going on well ahead of everybody else, watch Raw News and Politics. Link in the description. I don't talk about it till a day after, but that's because it takes me that long to understand it. She apparently gets it right away. Yeah.
Has pleaded guilty to sex trafficking, also defrauding the government in regard to COVID funds. His name is Nabil Dajani, and he's agreed to a cooperation deal, so he's going to be dishing the dirt on others who are under federal investigation. And here's what the deal is. Here's what he's copping to. Dajani worked with Matt Gaetz's former BFF, Joel Greenberg, to submit numerous false applications for small business COVID funds. According to the prosecutors, Dejani received approximately $300,000 for false claims that he submitted. And then Greenberg gave him a slice of his false claims. He gave him $16,000. So in total, Greenberg received over $430,000. And then there was also a co-conspirator. So this person isn't named in the court documents, but it says that this person is a Florida resident and a member of the Small Business Administration. And I'll give you some details on who.
Now, wait a minute. I know. You might be thinking, could that also somehow describe Matt Gaetz? Probably not. But maybe. I don't know. I should look that up, if Matt Gaetz is a member of the Small Business Administration. I doubt it, though. This sounds like Matt Gaetz' scumbag criminal rapist friends were just doing, the traditional Republican thing, scamming the taxpayers of their money. I expect somehow, some way, Matt Gaetz was indeed involved. There is, however, absolutely, to my knowledge, no proof of that. Yep.
Business Administration. And I'll give you some details on who this is. It's a woman, and she was apparently paid by Dejani in the form of bribes and kickbacks. So she helped them facilitate these false loans, and then they gave her a little slice of the pie. In regard to the sex trafficking, Dejani and another unnamed co-conspirator apparently hired 2 North Carolina women to travel down to Florida to have sex with them in a hotel. So Dejani has been charged with conspiracy to commit an offense against the United States, submitting a false claim, and the enticement of another to travel in interstate commerce for the purpose of prostitution. Dejani's plea agreement requires that he needs to testify before the grand jury, for any grand jury, I should say, in relation to this case or if for other legal issues that they're looking into. So other legal matters is kind of interesting, right? I mean, we still don't know what all they have going on.
Okay, so look. I will admit, this is largely optimism. But I gotta think that if we make enough stink about the fact that well-known rapist Matt Gaetz is allowed to walk free, we might be able to get him still. I'm really hoping that this is related to that. It certainly sounds like the racket they were running. Remember that Greenberg, he was given his position by Gaetz to abuse it. The Republicans are a criminal organization. And this was a criminal grift that they were running when Greenberg had his relatively small tax-related position. Trafficking people for sex is something they commonly engaged in. So this could indeed be related to Gaetz. I will say, though, remember what we've learned from Merrick Garland in January 6th. There is no progress without pressure. They are looking for excuses to not go after these people. The people in law enforcement do not want to do their jobs. They don't want to do what they were hired to do. They're delighted. They're delighted to go after leftists. If they can, they're going to run them down. Because nobody complains when that happens. Nobody with money complains, I guess. But if the people show that they do not trust law enforcement, and by the way, you should not trust law enforcement in the United States, then that tends to get results. So get ready to protest. If we can get people around the country making a big deal about this, that could have an effect. What will be the starting signal to go out and protest? If we get more credible information that Gates was involved in sex trafficking, anything, even a whiff, then it's time to get out and protest. Or, God help me, I can trick this idiot into suing a tiny little podcast, and then we can do discovery. Here's hoping.
So Dejani, for his part, is facing up to 20 years in prison for the sex trafficking, and then up to 5 years for the fraud and the conspiracy. So it's interesting that Greenberg was kind of like the Jenga piece that was pulled out. It caused everyone to collapse, all the other crimes to collapse. And speaking of which, I wanted to share some other details with you guys about Greenberg associates, other associates who've either been arrested or sentenced. So first up is Keith Ingersoll. He pleaded guilty to fraud in October of 2022. He scammed an 80-year-old man, a wealthy investor, out of nearly $10 million. So Ingersoll and others, what they did was they forged documents and then they strung this investor along, and they convinced him that they were using the money to purchase real estate throughout the U.S. Instead, like with Greenberg, like with so many of these idiots, they were using it to fund their very lavish lifestyles. They were using it on private jet trips. They were frequenting strip clubs, the kind of stuff that the party of family values is known for. So Ingersoll was facing up to 20 years in prison, but the prosecutor said that he helped so much that we need to give him leniency. They said he provided substantial assistance, that's a direct quote, in their case against another accused Republican criminal.
Going to get back to that in a second. Going to leave her face just like that because that's how I feel. Look, let's be clear. It's not like Republicans are the only ones that commit crimes in office. They're just the only ones who are allowed to get away with it. We had a Democrat in Michigan, the mayor of Detroit. Guy's name was Kwame Kilpatrick. He ran that place. He was like it was like Tammany Hall, basically. He was incredibly corrupt. To this day, there are credible rumors. Let me stress that they are rumors, but they are credible rumors that he was involved in an actual killing. It's insane. The guy hired he was a former football player, and he hired a bunch of linemen from his former team to be his security. He paid for that with my tax dollars. All 12 of them. So it's not, the corruption is not limited to a single party. But there is only one party that embraces it. And if you want evidence for that, Donald Trump pardoned Kwame Kilpatrick. And by the way, I understand now that Trump might have been selling pardons. And I promise you, Kilpatrick and his scumbag mom are the sort of people who would buy pardons. Hey, Department of Justice, you should really investigate Kilpatrick's funds right around the time of his pardon. Sorry, I just realized that's what I'm going to be spending my weekend doing. All right, back to Raw News and Politics. Who was this person that Joel Greenberg helped the case against so much?
And the judge ended up sentencing Ingersoll to over 9 years in prison, so 109 months to be exact. Ingersoll will also serve 3 years of probation, and he was ordered to pay back this investor $12.7 million. And then he has to pay the Seminole County Tax Collector's Office $48,000 for other schemes that he was doing. And here's how Ingersoll caught this break in his sentencing. He cooperated with the government against former Republican operative and Greenberg campaign consultant Mike Shirley. So Shirley has been charged with paying bribes and taking kickbacks in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. He stole basically from the tax collector's office because Shirley was submitting fake invoices to the Seminole County tax collector, which was Greenberg at the time. And so Greenberg was paying them, knowing that these invoices were completely bogus. And then Shirley took a cut, and then he gave some to Greenberg. He gave Greenberg kickbacks. So of the nearly $700,000 that they stole combined, Shirley is said to have received nearly $500,000. So he pleaded not guilty, and he's set to go on trial next month on June 5th. In addition to Shirley, though, Ingersoll provided information to the feds in another case that they say is not yet public. And DeJohnny and Greenberg's COVID fraud case resulted in another sentence that was given to a woman. She is named Teresa McKintry. McKintry helped them obtain nearly $600,000 in these fraudulent small business loans. And McKintry and that unnamed SBA employee that I mentioned each received $1,000 as a kickback for each loan. So McKintry took a plea deal, but she swears she wasn't aware that the loans were for fake companies. She said that when she found out, she, quote, freaked out and said, "What do you mean it's not a real company?" And at her sentencing hearing, it came out who this SBA representative is. She and her attorney revealed that this unnamed SBA employee at the center of all of this is her sister. So McKintry said, she came to me, she said she needed help with this, and, I just try to help people and blah, blah, blah. So McKintry was looking at a prison sentence somewhere between 41 and 51 months, but the judge seemed to take a lot of mercy on her. She agreed that McKintry was the least likely person to commit a crime. She said, in all my time on the bench, you are someone that I just don't understand it. I don't get it. So the judge cut her a huge break. She sentenced her to only 5 years of probation. And then she gave her 100 hours of community service, but it's 100 hours per year of those 5 years of probation. So 500 hours total. Plus, McKintry has to reimburse the SBA. She has to pay them back $587,500.
Okay, I am sure McKintry is scum. I'm sure she's just one of the lowest forms of life. Why her sister is involved with Gates and Greenberg and all that. And so was she. She could be duped into being involved. I'm sure she's just the lowest slime that you would find underneath a log in a swamp. And I think the judge was right to go light on her here. Remember that we are not insisting that people be good people, decent human beings. We're not. When it comes to the law, that is a different thing. When it comes to who you vote for, then we do insist upon that. But when it comes to law enforcement, we have a different set of demands. We really only are insisting that they be lawful. And it does sound like this person was not intending to be involved in a crime, or at the very least was not intending to be involved in a serious crime. And we can't make being a shitty person illegal. So I actually am. I have no complaints about the judge's handling of this particular person in the case. That said, I sure do want to make sure we get the actual people who have benefited most from this behind bars.
So little by little, the Florida trash is being taken out. I mean, it's not quick enough, but at least it's being exposed. It's being punished finally. There's so much more rot in that state. It's unbelievable. It's important for everyone to understand, yes, the system may take a long time, but in the end, not always, like in the case of Matt Gaetz, but most of the time it does work. Most of the time people do have consequences for their illegal actions. So I will let you guys know if I hear any more. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please like, share, and subscribe.
Yes, by the way, if you're enjoying the stream, please do like and share and subscribe and vandalize government property with the channel handle and take hostages and insist that everybody watch multiple hours of this or whatever people are supposed to say. Yeah, just a couple of notes going out. Get ready for new information on Gates. If that happens, contact everyone you can about it. Contact your representatives. Say, I want to hear you speaking about this. Contact your local news station. Not your local news station. Contact your national news stations as part of a write-in campaign. Say, why aren't you talking about this? If they do talk about it, say, why didn't you talk longer about it? Be unreasonable. Be difficult to please. Make there be no amount of coverage that is satisfactory for you. Take a page out of the MAGA book and make them not just jump up when you show up, make them leap to their feet, knocking over the chair behind them while they say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. We're going to talk about Gates constantly. And finally, if possible, protest about it. Find an excuse to make a scene somewhere about it and inform the local news. That's the plan if there is any new information on the well-known rapist, Matt Gaetz. Also, if you can possibly send him this clip, I really do want that knucklehead to sue. And I might just stop saying that in the actual stream, because you guys know by this point, I would love to bait that idiot to do that. So make a scene, get ready. Republicans are criminals. Let's see what the wicked community has to say. Dean Oldfield with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. That is highly appreciated. Oh, and we got a new member, Cortez. Welcome, my friend. Oh, I didn't load up Foxy's. Foxy, I made a one of these for you. Dang it. Cortez Crimson, thank you so much for becoming a friend of Doris. And there is your Pixel Progressive. Every friend of Doris gets a Pixel Progressive like this if they so choose. I do have to recall, I've got to remember to load them up, but yeah, once they're in here, they're in here. Oh, mercy me. Dean Oldfield says, call Dianne Feinstein's San Francisco office and demand that she step down. Yeah, that is absolutely a legitimate way to handle that. Stuart Brooks says Gates is the new Teflon Don. God, I hope not. But yeah, so far it does appear to be that way. Zix says, I fled Florida 6 years ago and got as far away as I could and still be in the lower 48. Intriguing. I'm curious to know where you wound up, Zix. Mars Falcon, excuse me. Let me go up a little bit, get a little context here. Cortez Crimson says, well, I haven't met a Doris I don't like. The membership is named after Doris Leshevsky, who is the oldest fan of your old pal Jake on the internet. Way back in the day when I did a Let's Play for a local news station, it was a weird time. I did a tabletop game with a bunch of news people, and it was a lot of fun, and she watched all the time. Patrick Kibido says, back to playoff hockey. Good to see you guys. All right, Patrick, enjoy. And Wicked Foxy Dragon, yes, explaining the Doris Leshevsky thing is incredibly difficult. She's something of a mascot for the channel. And you'll certainly see her at some point. Mars Falcon says Doris Day. Yes, indeed. Doris Lashevsky is essentially Doris Day on the internet. All right, let us bust out the Friday Peace Talk. Yes. The Friday Peace Talks sheet. This is from Zix. It's one I've been wanting to look at. This is Clay Higgins using physical intimidation. Oh, you know what? I probably should set this up and then record it. All right, that's what we're going to do. To tell you what I am setting up, this fella, Clay Higgins, has apparently engaged in physical intimidation. I'm going to give a like to the Midas touch there. And it's got to stop. We've been putting up, we've been putting up with Republican criminals for just way too long. But I'm going to do a proper intro here, and I want to record this because these always do tend to do better when they're shorter. So, lessons learned. Stand by. Here we go. We got a viewer suggestion from Zix. This is Midas Touch clip talking about Clay Higgins, a Republican who seems to think it's acceptable to get physical with people. As far as I'm concerned, that means he's opened up the doors to anybody that would like to do the same to him. But let's instead just knock him out politically. How about that? Kick his butt out of office. It is well deserved. Let's see what Midas Touch has to say about it.
I'm Ben Meiselas from the Midas Touch Network. MAGA Republican Clay Higgins attacked an activist who was asking MAGA Republican members of Congress questions during a press conference they were holding. And specifically, this activist was asking a question of Lauren Boebert about her announcement that she would be getting divorced from her husband. Lauren Boebert had previously made a number of disparaging comments about people who have been through divorce. So the hypocrisy there is, I think, worth asking a question about, and purely for that basis. But in any event, the activist was asking a question, and let me just show you what happened when that activist was asking this question. Play this clip.
No, you're out. You're out. You're out. You're out. You're out. Aren't you a congressperson touching me? Get off me.
Someone video this. Get this on video.
Get off me.
Get this on video. This is assault.
Get off me.
This is
what are you
assault.
trying to do, Clay Higgins? You're a U.S. congressman touching a person. You can't get him off the street. Get off me.
All right, you're not going to like this, but thing number one, push back. Look, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we live in brutal times. But if they're going to throw elbows, if the ref's not calling elbows, throw elbows. What should have happened there is the police should have had to intervene. Clay Higgins gets physical. This guy should have got physical back. Yeah, I realize that's something that people don't like to hear. I realize that's not the way things should function. That's the way things must function. Must function. If we want to keep our country. You get shoved by that effing used car salesman pretending to be a politician. You shove his ancient butt back. What is this? Your shoulders tucked and your legs buckled. Looks like he's about to get bowed down on the dance floor. Shove Clay Higgins back. Make the police say, whoa, 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 whoa. Make a report get filed. Make it an incident that requires court intervention. Yes, you will suffer. You will. So will Clay Higgins. I appreciate that it's difficult to think on your toes. But now we know who we're dealing with. As of this moment, there is no excuse not to be ready for these motherfuckers. Handle them appropriately. Don't let yourself get pushed. I don't care if you're 90 pounds. Struggle. Fight. Have a backbone. Don't permit Nazi scum. Don't permit bigots like this to even have the illusion of actual strength. They are weak. They are pathetic. They are the absolute worst of humanity. Treat them like it. We're terrified, just terrified, to have backbone. Why? Because people who don't want us to have spent our whole lives telling us that it's bad to stick up for ourselves, telling us that there is no time where it's appropriate to defend oneself. We've ceded the concept of self-defense to the right. That's insane. I respect this guy. I respect this guy for getting up there and making a scene. Good. Go further. You get pushed by some punk like Clay Higgins. You push back. You don't have to win, but you do have to fight.
You need to calm down.
Calm down, sir.
Yeah, I mean, that's not acceptable behavior by a member of Congress or anybody to engage in that physical.
It's not acceptable from a member of Congress. It is acceptable from the guy getting pushed. You don't only have a right to respond, you have an obligation to respond so that others don't get pushed and so that others don't get punched, because that leads to others getting shot. Pushback.
Contact and conduct with this activist. I'm going to show it to you just from another angle. This is actually from the phone of that activist. Here, play this clip.
Representative Boebert, can you talk about your divorce? Did it have anything to do with giving food poisoning to Shooter's Bar and Grill? Just a question about your divorce, please. Can you please stop touching me, sir? What is your name? What is your name, sir? Stop. What's your name, sir? Get off me. Get off me.
You're on me, sir. Come on.
You're on me. You're on me. You're touching me.
Look, you're on the wrong side of the back.
Representative Boebert, can we hear about your divorce?
You're out. You're out. You're out. You're out.
Aren't you a congressperson touching me? Get off
sir.
me. You're hurting me.
Sir,
You're hurting me. Get off me. Get off me.
Yes, sir.
Clay Higgins.
Also, that you're hurting me. It's like falling down on a soccer field. He wasn't hurting him, but he was pushing the guy, which is inappropriate.
Get off me. What are you trying to do, Clay Higgins?
Stand by.
You're a U.S. congressman touching a person.
Calm down.
You're manhandling. Get off me. Get off me.
Calm down.
Get off me.
Calm down.
And by the way, do you want to know Clay Higgins' background? Well, let's take a look. In 2004, Clay Higgins became a patrol officer in a police department. By 2007, Police Chief Perry Gallo was prepared to take major disciplinary action against Higgins. In a letter to the city council, he wrote, Clay Higgins used unnecessary force on a subject during the execution of a warrant and later gave false statements during an internal investigation. Although he later recanted his story and admitted to striking a suspect in handcuffs and later releasing him, Higgins resigned before disciplinary action could be imposed. So, as Peter Strzok said, the same guy who quit being a patrol officer before he could be disciplined for using unnecessary force on a subject, striking a subject in handcuffs, and then lying about it, just engaged in this conduct that you saw right there and found a warm welcome and home in the modern-day MAGA Republican Party.
Let's leave that right there. Really drill this home. All your friends, all your family, everyone you come into contact with, Republicans are criminals. And I'm not saying that as a euphemism. I mean, they're literally a criminal organization. The Republican Party is a criminal organization. If somebody is a member of the Republican Party, they are a member of a criminal organization. They might be unknowingly a member of this criminal organization. That's plausible. It's in fact probably likely for most of the voters that say they're a member of that organization, but make it clear they are indeed a member of a criminal organization. It uses criminal tactics. Case in point. They play that game where they pay for the attorneys of people that might testify against them to cut off the testimony. They engage in stochastic terrorism. They are the Taliban. That's what we're dealing with. We are responding to them incorrectly. We should not be treating them like they're a legitimate organization. Make sure everybody you know hears the phrase, Republicans are criminals, because it is true. It's a statement of fact.
This is him yesterday during a MAGA Republican hearing on the District of Columbia. They've been holding these bizarre performative hearings where they just continue to attack Washington, D.C. and public urination or whatever it is that they're even doing with these hearings. Just completely bizarre and deranged. But here is Clay Higgins asking a question of D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, and just watch how she responds to this. It's quite incredible. Play this clip.
Is there any other city in the country where you're going to just bump into potentially hundreds of congressmen and 100 senators at any given restaurant or grocery store? Is there any municipality in the country that offers that level of personal access to the seat of government of these United States?
Congressman, I've already explained that I'm born and raised here, and I've spent most of my life here. I've been serving an elective office
when
for
you were
15
growing up,
years.
did you bump into government officials?
Let me just finish, Congressman.
I'm reclaiming my
I have
time,
never
good lady.
been to an event where I happened to bump into 100 senators.
You've lived here.
I want to remind the crowd that clapping is a disruption. So, Chair recognizes Mr. Higgins for 5 minutes.
Congratulations on not having bumped into 100 senators at one time. That would be horrific.
Here's another question that he asked, and watch how Mayor Bowser from D.C. answers this.
You've just testified regarding your specific role, your personal role in the days leading up to January 6th in the D.C. National Guard. Do you have counsel present, ma'am?
No.
Do you wish to amend your testimony in any way regarding what you stated today?
I do not.
Very well. Mayor Bowser, you are the mayor of Washington, D.C., correct?
I am.
And Washington, D.C. is the capital of the United States of America, correct?
It is.
The Capitol is the home of the entire seat of our government, the executive branch, the legislative branch, the judicial branch. The president is here, the vice president is here, 435 congressional offices, 100 Senate.
Side note, y'all want to know why I have no plans to ever run for office? It is because I do not know how you interact with people like this in a civil manner. I have so much respect for Mayor Bowser for the fact that she is not currently awaiting trial for beating that man with his name tag.
The offices, the Supreme Court, all departments of the government are headquartered here. All agencies are headquartered here. In your knowledge, you're a very intelligent American. You have a clear understanding of history.
Christ, get to the point.
In your knowledge, ma'am, is there any other municipality in these United States that has access to our seat of government as the citizens of Washington, D.C.?
Actually, they all have more access because they have voting members of Congress.
I'll ask you to restrict your answers to my question.
And just so you have a sense of the types of questions
She's
that
the
Higgins
best.
Asks and what he does during these hearings.
God.
This is from September 29th of...
Great suggestion, by the way. And I meant to comment. A lot of what we're trying to do is comment on the media itself and you know, be it on the internet or on cable or on print, whatever. Ben Meiselas is doing a fantastic job. You know I love old Knock 'em Out Pete here. No comments. He's just presenting this wonderfully.
2022. This is what he said during the hearing as well. Play this clip.
My wife had a friend who had an abortion that I didn't know for years what they discussed. That was a private matter.
If I would have known, I would have made it much more difficult for her, of course. I would have done everything in my power to just take somebody who was going through some pain and make it worse, because I am essentially a demon.
Between my wife and her friend, but after many, many years, my wife shared with me that her friend had had an abortion long before.
So I called
and
her
she was haunted by that. She would have nightmares of little hands, tiny little hands. And I was familiar with those tiny little hands because my own daughters would wrap around my finger just barely.
See you next Tuesday.
So this is a painful and deeply personal discussion.
This is who MAGA Republican Clay Higgins is. Obviously, he thinks that the laws don't apply to him, but you see his behavior at these hearings as well, which we've got to call out here on the Midas Touch Network. Thank you so much for watching. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 1.5 million subscribers.
Great
Thanks for your
suggestion.
support. Check us out at patreon.com/Midas Touch. And wherever you get audio podcasts, make sure you subscribe to the Midas Touch.
Okay, so thoughts on Clay Higgins putting his hands on people. First of all, if some nerd politician ever shoves you, shove him back. It might seem to you like, oh wait, it's not my place to decide when physicality happens. You're right, it's not, nor is it theirs. If they shove you, they've decided physicality's happening. A working man or a working woman will actually know what adversity looks like. You are tougher than pampered, cowardly politicians. So shove them back. They've given you a gift. They've given you a glorious gift, which is the legal right to push them onto their fat butts. Take advantage of it. But look, that's a small point. That's just because I wanted that to be more embarrassing for Clay Higgins. Right now, it isn't embarrassing. Right now, that's going to be something that makes more people vote for him, because Republicans, in addition to being criminal, are also scum, and they'll appreciate that about him. All told, truthfully, and my immature little rant aside, truthfully, what that activist did was fantastic. The real hero here is somebody who had the courage to show up and call out this scum for their hypocrisy. He did a great job. Lauren Boebert chose to be cruel to people when they were going through a painful life experience. And when she went through it, deservedly, she's getting raked over the coals by this activist. That man is a hero, even though I think he should have been. I think he should have chosen immaturity there. And even though I acknowledge that that advice is the sort of thing that a dumb internet guy can say, set all that aside. The big takeaway: that guy's a hero, and we should all be like him. Show up and harass these motherfuckers. Clay Higgins himself needs to go. That is the kind of criminal scum that the Republican Party is now. And it's just a matter of how brazen they're willing to be about it, how courageous they are. You can have courage in evil people too. And it just comes down to whether or not they think it'll hurt them politically. But given the opportunity, if they were in a room with a switch and they could turn it on and cause people, just anybody, pain, or not touch it and nothing would happen, every single Republican would flip it on. As long as that switch said that they personally will not feel pain, even if they weren't going to gain anything from it, they would just flip it on, just to make sure somebody else had felt more pain in the world. That's who they are. That's the content of their character. That is true evil. And that's who Republicans are. In our two-party system, we have experienced something called Kramerization. It's like in a sitcom. As time goes on, you become the parody of yourself. That means that Republicans and Democrats are almost indiscernible as they bow down to corporations. MAGA is just a recruitment center for criminals. And progressives are literally the only political group just trying to run the country correctly. Just at all interested in decency. That's where we are. So there's a real easy what you can do about this. Vote in primaries. Go as far left as you can. We've got 3 steps to fixing America. Step 1, you vote in primaries. You go as far left as you can. Step 2, in 2024, you vote blue no matter who. I don't care if it's distasteful. I had to vote for Joe Biden. That will haunt me. That will haunt me for a long time, but I did it and I will do it again. Step 3, once we have victory in 2024, complete and total victory, we ain't done. Step 3 is we push. We push for serious change. We had an opportunity. We've had a number of opportunities. Last time we really had one was the beginning of Obama's presidency. If we would have been out there demanding the change he promised, I think we would have seen a very different 8 years of Obama. Instead, we saw no change. We saw more of the neoliberal nonsense that has always been. And the American people who don't follow things all that closely responded to that. To, again, the promised change that was the promise of change being broken. They responded by destruction. They responded with Trump. They knew what he was. They knew he was a destructive force. They put him in there to destroy. And he was successful. Much of what America is gone. And fortunately, so have the illusions about what America was. They have also gone. So, 3 steps to victory, 3 steps to true change, 3 steps to fixing America. Number 1, vote in primaries. You go as left as you can. Number 2, in 2024, vote blue, no matter who. Campaign for somebody. Donate if you can. Put in the effort, put in the time, put in the energy. It will be exhausting, but we will win. And when we do, then we grab these punks by the scruff of the neck and make them work for us. And by the way, the more we practice that now, the more we make it a habit to write these people, to write emails, to make phone calls, the more it is a natural thing for us to do, the easier it will be. Both because we have developed the habit and we've broken these hosses in. Tame some of these politicians to obeying you ahead of 2024. And you will find it is easier after 2024 to keep it going. It'll be a hard road, but we're going to walk it together. All right, let's see you guys tear me to bits over my immaturity, which I will have deserved. Scott Ward with the very kind $5. Thank you. He was obviously lending his valor in the race to be her knight in shining armor, LOL. Probably not, but it could easily be misinterpreted. Totally. That is the kind of thing that guy would do. Wireless Mike, I believe, is tearing me to bits, and I have deserved it, and I am prepared to concede that he is right. Let me see. Higgins is the literal definition of a goon. Yes. And if that kid had fought back, he'd be used an example of the extreme left being a threat. Yeah, I agree. But, oh my God, Jim Green. We're going to talk about that in a moment. I agree. He would be. But fine. Fine. Let's break down the game footage. Let's make it a talking point. Clay Higgins pushed first. If you respond with the same force but no greater, you just do it better. You know what it's going to accomplish? It's going to make them both look ridiculous. It's going to make them both look like school children wrestling around in the yard. That's what it's going to look like. The activist doesn't need to get reelected, and Higgins does. So, piss your pants together. Embarrass yourself and the politician. Who cares? Would you sell your mother to a whorehouse? Keep saying I wouldn't. But I'd come close. Jim Green, with the very kind $50. My word. That is highly appreciated, my friend. Thank you so much. Oh, I'm gonna build a pixel progressive of what I imagine you look like just for that. Where are the Panthers when they're needed most? Yeah, you know what? Boy, have I bounced around on how I feel about old political factions. My God. I used to think the Black Panthers were an overall detriment, and now I honest to God have just changed my tune. I think they were totally correct. Dean Oldfield giving the thumbs up to Jim Green. Jim Green says, "He who speaks truth to power gets my unconditional support." Brother, thank you. You are the man. Lordy Lou. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's have a gander. I saw another clip in there that I do want to get to because Patrick Thibodeau pulled up the garbage people of the week from the damage report, and I have had to willfully pull myself back from just stealing their bit every week. I love garbage people of the week. But if I were to do a review of the garbage people of the week, I think that might be too far. But if somebody suggests it, then I have the excuse, and I can absolutely use this. So I shall. All right, this is the damage report, and I am not recording, so I will stand by. Oh, would you believe I have done this professionally for over 7 years? I have to check my resume occasionally just to make sure that's true. It is. God help me. Got a suggestion from my man Patrick Thibodeau here. It's the Damage Report's Garbage People of the Week. If you're not familiar, John Idarola runs a poll on his channel wherein he asks people to nominate, or rather to elect, to appoint, whatever, to vote for who the worst human being, the most garbage person is that week. Let's look at this week's. Ooh, I can't wait.
Garbage person of the week. Hasn't been on the list in a while, but I think just a few seconds in this video, you'll probably understand why. Here's Ted Cruz.
Investigate what Bud Light was doing with Dylan Mulvaney. It destroyed a brand that may not recover. What's your focus?
Well, listen, I can't think of a company in modern times that has more alienated its customer base and seem to have so little understanding of who it is that actually drinks Bud Light. But this week, I sent a letter to the CEO of Anheuser-Busch along with Senator Marsha Blackburn, because the CEO of Anheuser-Busch is also the CEO or the chairman of the Beer Institute.
Notice they're having to loop that footage. They're all this over just acknowledging that a single trans person exists and has a social media following. Gum.
Which is the regulatory body, the industry regulatory body that regulates itself. And one of the rules that beer companies are supposed to follow is they're not supposed to market to kids. Remember the whole Joe the Camel thing? This is the same thing here. Well, you know what? Dylan Mulvaney, a massive percentage of Dylan Mulvaney's audience are kids. And Budweiser was trying, I believe, with this ill-fated marketing attempt to target teenagers. If you look at things Dylan Mulvaney has online, it's things like Days of Girlhood. There's another video where Dylan Mulvaney is singing, My Name is Eloise.
Dylan Mulvaney, as a side note, normally is a fashion icon. Old pal Jake's a big fan of a snappy dresser. But that is a terrible look. The eye makeup, I don't care for. However, I do love the dress, so I'm torn.
And I Am 6. There's another one where Dylan Mulvaney is shopping for Barbie dolls. These are clearly things aimed at teenagers and even children younger than teenagers, which violates the rules. And so we're calling on the Beer Institute to investigate the degree to which Anheuser-Busch knowingly was marketing to children in going down this road.
Senator, you.
Okay, I know. It's Peace Talks. We're supposed to be talking about the peace itself, but let's talk about Ted Cruz. Oh, scum. Look, we all know what this is. It's just authoritarianism. It's fascism. It's literally. Oh, it's using any excuse they can to attack trans people, to attack allies of trans people, to attack anybody that would be decent to a trans person. If you think about this from a traditional conservative point of view, actually you'll be right in line. You'll love it. But if you think about it from what conservatives said their point of view is, being pro-business, being worshiping the golden cow of corporations, it flies in the face of conservatism. A traditional conservative would theoretically say the business, Anheuser-Busch, has a right to do whatever it wants. If it thinks it can make more money by advertising to Dylan Mulvaney or with Dylan Mulvaney, then they should be allowed to. And if you choose, believe it or not, if you're such a shitty little person that you choose not to buy their beer because you can't stand the existence of trans people, fine. That's actually an acceptable conservative bigot reaction to this. But to then use your power as an elected official to attack the company, that flies in the face of, obviously, decency. So liberals aren't for it, but it should fly in the face of conservatism as well. If you're Dylan Mulvaney, if you're she's a business owner, she has an online brand, she sells products for a living. She makes entertainment, but she then sells products. I mean, that's advertisement. Products and services, I guess. He's interfering with that. But, I mean, why spend time talking about that? Just to highlight that nothing that these people say they stand for is what they stand for. Nothing at all, including Christianity. When they say that they think it should be a Christian nation, for example, when they say it should, in fact, when they say it should be a white nationalist nation, this scum, they don't truly, they don't even mean that. They just mean, in their souls, they just look at that and say, yes, if we could go that far, then I would have unlimited power. If I could get people to buy that, then I would have unlimited power. But if a wand was waved and overnight those people became black, the people that are pushing for white nationalism, the people that are trying to get Dylan Mulvaney killed, if they became black suddenly, they would utterly change their tune because they have no principles. They're only the only way they are guided by their principles is the fact that they have none. And that is their only advantage. That's the only thing they have to sell, is the fact that they're willing to do anything. And most people aren't willing to do anything. If you're going to become rich, that is one thing you require. Not to be evil, but to have something that you can do that other people can't do. I give you professional athletes. I give you musicians who make it big. I give you actors who make it big and directors who make it big. They have a skill. Scientists who make it truly wildly big. They have a skill that other people don't have. They have a thing that they are able to do that other people are not. Fundamentally, Republicans understand this. That is one reason the party of naked big business, they understand the core concept of how you become rich in the country. And unfortunately, the option that is open to anyone doesn't require being born with a natural talent. It just requires that you kill in yourself all decency. Something that is open to anyone is to betray everyone, is to live with no morals, no ethics, no decency in your soul. And if you're willing to say or do anything for power, then you are part of a group that are called Republicans. And you can become rich by being a corrupt Republican criminal like Ted Cruz is. And now he's using this to go after Anheuser-Busch for daring to advertise with a trans person, for associating with a trans person. This is one of those people who will be talked about in history books when we are discussing how shameful these times were. By the way, I'm sure he knows it. As does Brian Kilmeade. And these people are true nihilists because they know they will likely be dead or close to it. They'll certainly be beyond punishment by that time. At least that's their plan. And right now, in the here and now, while they're here on this earth. I promise you, neither of those people believe in the afterlife. They don't believe in God. They don't believe in an afterlife. And I promise you that they are simply here on earth right now entirely for themselves. Christ.
Never stop.
No, I mean, he never stops with this sort of pathetic pandering, saying stuff he doesn't believe. I don't want to, do we have to do this where we run through all the stuff that in that video is obviously fake? Do we have to point out that that's not a real beard? Do we really have to go through that he doesn't actually care about Dylan Mulvaney? He doesn't care about any of this. He's super late even to this discussion. He doesn't think that they're.
I'll also say Dylan Mulvaney is cute enough that if Ted Cruz and Ted Cruz is unfaithful enough and believes so little in things like, you know, the sanctity of marriage, if Ted Cruz was alone with her and somehow was under the impression that nothing could happen, nothing could ever be reported for the next 24 hours on his actions, and Dylan Mulvaney said, "Would you like to engage in sexual intercourse?" He'd be like, "Yeah, what the hell?" He's just a hypocrite. He's an utter hypocrite.
They're trying to market to kids. He doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about any of this. All of that, I think, is obvious. So I'm just going to lay that out there. I just want to really briefly. He mentioned that their stock price has been destroyed. Man, conservatives love saying that their boycott destroyed Anheuser-Busch's stock price, and I keep going to the stock price, almost hoping at this point that they're right, because then at least reality would matter. But if you look at their stock price, this is over the last month. Their stock is down over the last month. Now, it has gone up during that time and then back down and then up or whatever. But like, if you look at it over a slightly longer time horizon, you will realize how utterly irrelevant any of this is. Do you see at the very far end of the right, that tiny little lip? That's the supposed loss from this boycott. It is just utterly swamped by the natural variation over time. Yeah, they've lost a little bit. They've also lost way, way, way more over the last 7 years. Was that because they went woke? They also had gained a bunch prior to that. There's peaks and valleys. It goes up and down. The idea that you can simply state that they wrecked Anheuser-Busch is ridiculous.
Hey, I have something sneaky as hell. Would you sell your own mother to a whorehouse? Here's the closest I'll get to that. I would love somebody to engage in insider trading with me. But instead of telling me when a stock is going to fall so I can short it, I would love to arrange protests of scumbag companies right around times we know their stock is going to fall anyway, so that we can hijack the story and say it was because of the protest and make it look like it was a bigger thing than it was. That's I would suggest that's probably dishonest, and I'll probably take it back, and it's also not even something that I'm going to have the opportunity to do. But I would love to F with these Republicans and Republican voters like that, because you just know they are incapable of understanding that kind of nuance. Oh,
ridiculous on its face. Anyway,
let me take back my jab at Republican voters. Nah, the Republican voters might understand the nuance, but it would be so hard for the actual politicians. Man.
Super fast comment. I apologize.
Super fast. I like when Ted Cruz says, you know, do they have no idea who drinks Bud Light? Yeah, I do. Everyone drinks Bud Light, and trans people are inside that Venn diagram of that single circle encompassing everything. Trans people are inside it. Yep. And the idea that if you're upset about just the fact that Bud Light is trying to market to children, like the NBA has alcohol sponsors, the NFL has alcohol sponsors, and children are fans of those things. So where is your letter to the CEO of Anheuser-Busch to get mad at them for marketing to other things that have child fans? No, they do this in Target. They're like, oh, Target's going after children. No, the Target has rainbow stuff for kids in their place. They're not going after children. They're just selling something and they're marketing that something. Just get over it.
100%. Yeah. Well, those are our garbage people of the week. 45,000 of you voted. I'm gonna do things a little bit differently. Here's the top 5.
Oh, I do.
I'm gonna let you know that the community garbage person of the week with 40% of the vote was CNN for defending their disastrous Trump town hall and just doubling down and tripling down and quadrupling down. If you want my thoughts about those other 4, well, they're already up at tiktok.com/the damage report. We did a special vertical video for that. You can go take a look.
Okay, so general thoughts. Everybody there was talking about the main issue without saying it out loud, both the bad guys and the good. Without saying it directly, I guess I should say. Let's start with Ted Cruz. He was saying Bud Light advertising with Dylan Mulvaney. It's the kids that I'm concerned about. And then the folks at the Damage Report were saying, I can't remember the co-host's name. It's killing me. John Idarola and some guy. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. I really like him too. But anyway, they were talking about the allies. Here's something interesting, and here's something hopeful for you. And it's going to start dark, so bear with me for a moment. Anheuser-Busch doesn't give an F about trans rights. Anheuser-Busch doesn't care about Dylan Mulvaney. Anheuser-Busch doesn't care about Ted Cruz. Anheuser-Busch cares about money. That's it. When all of these people were talking about Dylan Mulvaney, their concern was not about how actual trans people are going to vote. Their concern was not about how actual trans people are going to be affected by this. They were concerned about the fans of a trans person. And there it is. So we go back. Anheuser-Busch doesn't care about anything but money. Do you know how many people in the United States of America are trans? 0.05%. Not 0.5%, not 5%, 0.05%. I think there are more Jewish people than trans people in the country. Jewish people, another famously small minority. So why is this a hopeful thing? Because Budweiser, the greedy corporation that it is, and they're all corporations are designed to be greedy. I don't fault them for that. They made the calculation that there are enough fans of this trans person that they'll make a profit by selling some beer to them. In other words, people in this country are allies to trans folks. Yes, there are people that use them as the new hated minority. But every time the right does this, they make new allies. Every time the allies show up for another group, we become stronger. And those trans people will be marching with us at the Black Lives Matter marches. Just like the Black Lives Matter marchers are going to show up for the trans folks. And we will insist they will, by the way. We will always turn to our left, turn to our right, and say, I hope I'll see you at the next one. Anheuser-Busch made the calculation that there are more allies. Ted Cruz is afraid of this because he understands that. Yes, he's using this as an excuse, sure. He's using this to do his stunt. But at the end of the day, the tide of public opinion has not changed. At the end of the day, there are more allies. And that 0.05% of the country that is trans has seen how both sides react to this, and their minds are made up for life. At the end of the day, Republicans, in addition to being criminals, they're bad at business. And their selfish philosophy means that this generation of Republicans doesn't care about the next generation. Of Americans, sure, but also of Republicans. Means all their strategies are short-term. And it means the evil they're doing in the short term is assuring that in the long term, they cannot win. In the long term, we will win. And this, as always, becomes a fight about minimizing the damage that they do. How can you minimize the damage if you know a trans person? Be kind to them. That easy. If you hear about a trans person or a trans event that is in danger, show up as a friend. That easy. Just be pleasant and be present. And we'll win. Oh. Folks, let's see what the wicked community has to say about this. I got to tell you, I do love John Iadarola. Mars Falcon, in quotes, call the Veer Institute to investigate Mulvaney. Lock her up, lock her up, lock her up. Ted Cruz, freedom lover. Yeah, call the Veer Institute, my bad. Catherine Wolf, I'm suggesting Ol Renati, what is abolition? Ooh. Well, tell you what, Catherine. What the hell? Let me have a look. I'm feeling my voice going away. Hold up. Ooh, damn it, it's good too. I was gonna wrap this thing, but then you tossed a real interesting one my way. What the hell? Let's do a bonus. Gonna read a couple more from the audience here, though. Dean Oldfield says, I didn't even think it was that high. I figured it was 1/10 of 1%. I should say that's not trans people who have transitioned. That's it's a very broad. I remember thinking the same thing. Like, even that seems kind of high. It's a very broad categorization of trans people. But even then, it's a fraction of a percent. It's all this hullabaloo over nothing. Here's why it is so important, though, that we stick by their side. Aside from the fact that, yes, they're human beings, that's still lots and lots and lots of people. What the right will do, what they always do, is see which groups we will not protect. And then they will attack those groups viciously. They'll kill them. So we literally have to defend their lives. And we can do so with politics, thank God. Patrick Kibido says, I just heard this the other day. Yeah, trans is about 0.5% of the world population. Jewish was 0.9%, maybe 1.9. I was surprised to see that number. I remember it was just under 3% when I was younger. Yeah, and it also depends on how it's being measured. These are all estimates. All right, got a suggestion from Catherine Wolf. I am going to record this. Stand by. Got a suggestion from Catherine Wolf. It looks like a real interesting one. It is, what is abolition by Ol Renati? I am real curious about this because I've seen this channel a whole lot, and I don't remember if I actually watched it. It would probably help if I loaded that up, huh? But on Friday Peace Talks, we do take viewer suggestions and watch them raw. So it couldn't be a better moment. Oh, this is going to be brutal. There we go. All right, Ol Renati, what is abolition?
I mean, they're killing my friends. It's as simple as that. And I've been all the years that I've been alive.
So you don't agree then? I mean, when people say, oh, it's okay for him, he's escaped.
What have I escaped? Where, anyway, would I go to escape? To your country? Where would a fleeing black man go if he wanted to escape? If you break faith with what you know, that's a betrayal of many, 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 many people. I may know 6 people, but that's enough. Love has never been a popular movement, and no one's ever wanted really to be free. The world is held together, really it is held together, by the love and the passion of very few people.
I'm an abolitionist. Yes, that does mean I believe we need to abolish prisons, policing, and America's entire criminal system as it exists. But we recognize that the powers that be won't simply open up all the cells and close all the courts tomorrow, just as we recognize that we do not yet have the resources, the institutions, and the support systems in place to make that feasible. But we also recognize that mass incarceration is invested in ensuring that we never do, which is why the first thing you should know is that abolition is a vision for the future, a world where we've divested from police, courts, and prisons, because instead of pumping money into the criminalization of the most disenfranchised among us, we put that money into addressing the root causes of crime, like poverty, unemployment, poor housing, starved school systems, mental health issues, and more. We must reckon with what our criminal system is to understand why abolition isn't about depriving us of the means to stop crime or address harm. It's allowed.
All right, so it's Peace Talks. Means we're going to talk about the peace. Straight out the gate, yes, it looks like she is now addressing what my objection is. All of what she said was well and good, except that we do require an ability for society to grab individuals who are destructive and separate them from society. That's needed. Now, I don't think she's actually, as in fact it looks like she's clarifying now, I don't think she's actually suggesting that we get rid of that ability. But I do find that when the left discusses anything like this, they do an abysmal job. They keep stepping right on that rake. I'll never forget the failure of defund the police. The dumbest group of words assembled to say what was intended to be said. It makes people who are on the fence, it makes people who are potential converts to such ideas immediately say, just not even dislike the ideas, but simply say, okay, this isn't a serious person, I don't have to listen to this. So when she says I'm for abolishing prisons and police and yada, 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 look, I think I know where she's going with this, and I think I support it. But when I hear that, I go, oh, God, please don't let this be a thing I start hearing the left say. Please don't start saying abolish police, abolish prisons. God, please don't. Even if that's what your goal is, find a better way to say it. Because what people are going to hear is that when somebody commits a murder, then you send a therapist running down the street, and they throw open the door and they say, okay, tell me about your feelings. That's what they're going to hear. I know that's not what she's suggesting, but that is what will be heard. And that's nonsense, of course. But let's hear what the actual plan is here.
Allowing us to design a system where we do those things for the very first time, because that is not what we currently do. Mass incarceration is slavery. The
Yes.
fact that the 13th Amendment explicitly acknowledges by abolishing slavery except for anyone convicted of a crime. In the same breath that the US government
Jesus
purported to
Christ.
abolish slavery, they established the means to continue the practice. And slavery
So they said slavery is bad. We will not have slavery. You need to make an excuse to own the slave first. So, you know, have everybody hyperfixate on black people, and then as soon as somebody hiccups in public, tackle them, beat them within an inch of their life, and then they can be a slave.
Slavery is as much a
It's our current
business as
system.
it is a sin. And a business is meant not just to continue, but to expand, to make more and more money. Nearly 2 million people are incarcerated in America, over 400,000 of whom have not had a trial or been convicted of any crime. Nearly 60% of all incarcerated people are Black or Latino, and the vast majority of incarcerated people earned wages below the poverty line prior to their arrest. And
Yep.
America makes over $11 billion yearly in goods produced by prison labor. Both
Step one, we need to abolish private prisons. If somebody is going to live in chains, we must all take responsibility for it. That means these things can only be done in our name. So private prisons have to go. Nobody should be profiting off of the incarceration of another person.
private and public. And
I just realized I should probably let her say her piece uninterrupted. Side note, though, let me just say the way she is designing these videos, particularly for an ADD fellow like myself, is fantastic. I love it. I might gently steal it.
incarcerated and formerly incarcerated people owe at least $27.6 billion in fines and fees nationwide. Their families spend over $2.9 billion in commissaries each year, in addition to another $14.8 billion in costs associated with moving, eviction, and homelessness brought on by these cases. No system that is designed and maintained in furtherance of making money by subjugating and imprisoning specific populations for allegedly committing certain harms simultaneously intends to rid us of those harms and thus their means of production. So if slavery is a system of bondage where a person is treated as property, deprived of their freedom and personal liberty, and forced to perform labor for another's gain, mass incarceration is slavery. And it's making the rich richer and absolutely no one safer. But I understand that in spite of everything I'm going to say to you, if this is the first time you're hearing about abolition, or maybe you even know a little about it, it might seem impossible or crazy. And that's fair. The first time I heard about abolition, I was a junior in college being introduced to Our Prisons Obsolete by Angela Davis by my thesis advisor, and it sounded crazy to me too. But if you want to change someone's mind about something, the first thing you need to understand, what I believe my professor understood when she referred me to Angela Davis, instead of engaging how taken aback I was at the very concept of abolition, is that nobody ever abandons their entire worldview the first time it's challenged. It doesn't matter how many facts, stats, case studies, compelling narratives, or undeniable evidence you have on your side, people simply do not rip the foundation out from under themselves at the first indication that there may be cracks.
By the way, that's a good thing. That is a good thing. And you can use that. This is why, so often on this channel, we say change is accomplished with light and constant pressure. It's light so that we can maintain it. It's also light so that it is not it's not fought against as with the full force of the opposition. But mostly it's so that we can maintain it. But it's constant. It's an eroding wave rather than a single swing of a wrecking ball. We'll take out a mountain eventually, but it is light and constant pressure. Or if you have the energy to maintain it, heavy and constant pressure. But, you know, trying to be practical here.
People believe what they're taught, and rarely on their own do they have occasion to question what was presented to them as fundamental truths. The sky is blue, grass is green, cops are good, robbers are bad, justice is served when someone goes to jail. But just having it brought to my attention that we didn't always have or rely on prisons, combined with the realization that there are other countries that do not invest in punitive prison systems and instead invest in genuinely care-based, community-based, rehabilitative models, immediately shifted my world. Just learning that it was possible to have a society without prisons instantly diminished how radical the mere suggestion.
I think I know what she's going to say now. I'm almost positive. And I really want her to change the way she says it. She's talking about punitive prisons. I think she's going to talk about prisons that are rehabilitative. And that's neat. But saying get rid of prisons, you're saying get rid of the area where we hold dangerous people. And look, I can see she's going to address this. Neat. Why are you building this into our vocabulary? Why are you repeating the phrase get rid of prisons? That's such a harmful thing. That is such bad positioning. Terrible positioning. The politics of this does matter. And if you cannot hook somebody, this is why this is a huge problem lefties have. Lefties actually care about what is right. They actually care about getting to a real solution, which means we're used to having long, complicated, annoying conversations, which we enjoy. We enjoy that because we're interested in what each other has to say. We're interested in learning a little bit. Most people are not. Most people, even if they vote left, are not really, truly that interested in talking about this stuff. So if you come at somebody with a phrase that says abolish prisons, what they hear is abolish the areas where we hold dangerous people. And that is, it's going nowhere from there. Terrible, terrible piece of politics. Again, I don't think right what she's doing here is designed to go out to the mass voting populace. It's designed for people like you and me. Okay, neat. But you and I shouldn't be learning phrases like that. Because when you get nervous, when you're on the spot, what's going to bubble up are just the phrases you're really used to hearing. You're going to fall back on the things you're sure of. So quit putting that dumbass phrase in people's heads. It's a bad phrase. It will not accomplish the thing you want to accomplish. It works against it. And sounds like I want you to be successful. So knock it off, lady who can't hear me right now.
Had seemed to me, because up until that point, I'd never
Also, this is not the lady I thought it was, but I like her.
Noticed that because I was born into a world with prisons, I thought they were as natural to earth as dirt, water, and air, rather than the man-made institutions that they are. But before we can understand how we get to abolition and why it's necessary, we first must understand why mass incarceration and prisons aren't, and exactly what they're meant to accomplish. When you say you want to abolish the prison industrial complex, or more specifically, policing in prisons, one of the first things people ask you is how then will we stop crime? And the premise that underlines that question, that our existing system does this, is wrong. Because our
No, it is not how will we stop crime. Sorry, let me go back a little bit.
Premise that
it is not how will we stop crime. That is the key thing to understand. That is not the first thing people think. The first thing people think is how will we be safe from criminals, and that is different. Do you understand? Let's say I crack. I have a mental break, and I'm running around with a sock full of nickels hitting people. Do we need to get me mental treatment of some sort? Absolutely. But first and foremost, we need to grab me and pull me out of the general population and put me somewhere where I cannot hurt people. The debate, what she's talking about, is where that somewhere is. But do you understand that it is not about how we stop me from swinging the socks 10 months from now? It's how we stop me from doing it tonight, immediately. That's a huge messaging problem.
Underlines that question, that our existing system does this, is wrong. Because our criminal system does not address, stop, or prevent crime. Because that's not what it's intended.
But it does. It does it poorly. But if somebody is out shooting people, there is a system in place to collect that person and separate them. I hate the system we have. It is used as an excuse to run modern slavery. I agree with that. But she's presenting something that is not true here. The point she is getting at is long term. And the point I'm trying to say is the only thing regular folks will hear is the short term. And they'll have a point because she is not addressing the short term. Yet, I suspect she will. I suspect that's the very next section. Why would you start? Why would you start with all of this other stuff? She says, before we get to the part people are going to care about, first we must talk about all these things people aren't going to listen to because they're only going to be thinking about the last part. That's the worst way to discuss this. I really like what she's talking about for lefties who are already willing to have this conversation. This is a terrible, we're almost halfway through the video. She hadn't gotten to the serious concerns yet. This is a terrible way to think you're going to sway anybody who needs to be swayed to accomplish these things.
To do. In fact, it's meant to reproduce it. America's criminal system is a vehicle for maintaining racial, social, and economic inequality by criminalizing poor Black and brown communities, using them for labor, and saddling them with debt, trauma, and rap sheets whose lifelong collateral consequences can rarely be outrun. It's not a coincidence that the same communities dubbed high crime areas are those most under-resourced and remain that way generation after generation. We all want to live in a society that is free of crime and the social ills that reproduce it. But continuing to invest in policing and mass incarceration of communities whose well-being we've never invested in only takes us further and further away from that goal. In America, the police killed at least 1,195 people in 2020 that we know of, and they've already killed 320 people this year. Black people were 26% of people killed by police in 2022, despite being only 13% of the population. According to the Vera Institute of Justice, police arrest someone every 3 seconds in this country. Yet, a 2020 review from University of Utah professor Shima Bergholm found that police solve just 2% of all major crimes. But the United States has the highest incarceration rate in the world and spends an estimated $300 billion yearly on policing in prisons, a figure that has continued to skyrocket despite record drops in crime. Yet, political leaders in the media continue to sensationalize and manufacture crime waves to scare the public into feeling unsafe, no matter how divorced that feeling is from reality, so that we continue to support inflated police budgets, militarized police departments, and incarcerating residents of the most under-resourced communities. Still, people ask...
Before we get there, yeah, and to really stress that, when you have a community that loses one of its members because that person becomes incarcerated, just take your emotions out of it and think about the nuts and bolts of how it affects the rest of that community. Let's just say that person was pretty unimpressive, but they nonetheless ate 3 meals a day, put gasoline in their car, and once in a while went out to the movies. That piece of the economy is gone now. So when you have Black people being arrested at a higher rate than white people, I'll tell you, a black dollar stays in the Black community, like a dollar generated by a Black person, a black person owned dollar, stays in the Black community only for, I think it's 18 hours before it eventually changes hands and goes to a white person, or just literally a person of a different race. And that becomes instantaneous when you are transferring your money to your relative in the commissary, owned by white slavers. So it's even worse somehow than she has said here, although she's making a fine point of it. I'm just saying, underlining the issue here. She's completely correct.
Abolitionists, what will we do about the rapists and the murderers without prisons? First,
yes.
It's worth noting that more than 80% of arrests nationwide are for misdemeanors.
Again, why are you taking time to avoid the important questions? Seriously, this is maddening to me. This is one of the issues I care most about on the earth. And every time I hear people talking about this, it's like they're anxious to F it up. It's like they cannot wait to approach this incorrectly. Why are you starting with the stuff that people have to sit through to get to what you want to talk about? No one, not one person who could be swayed will be swayed by watching this, because they have to get through 7 minutes and 24 seconds before you get to the main point. What you call it, the name of the thing, should address the main point. It should eliminate the main point. And the fact that you've not only gone with something that makes people nervous about the fact that murderers and rapists are going to be running around, that's bad. And it's worse. It makes me worry that you don't have an answer, and I bet you do, but I get more and more worried the longer you delay. It's worse that you are trying. You're making a game of not addressing the main point. Start with addressing the main point, please. Let's hear it.
Low-level and non-violent offenses. Rape, murder, and other horrific and sensationalized crimes are simply not a reflection of the bulk of what's in our criminal system.
Okay, but they happen so. Get to the main point.
They're just what receives the most media attention. Further and importantly, condemning violence doesn't stop it from reoccurring. Understanding and alleviating the cost.
Yes, it does. It literally does. It's not all that is necessary, but it does. Get to the main point. I'm begging you. I like this video despite the issues I've had with it, but now I'm genuinely concerned. Get to the main point.
Causes of violence does. But to the question, what do we do about the rapists? To that I ask, what are we doing about them now? In a piece for The Guardian titled, "Who Will Protect You from Rape Without Police?" Moira Donegan answers the question perfectly, and she says, and I quote, "But the notion that abolishing the police will have negative repercussions for women radically misunderstands both American policing and sexual violence. Police abolition need not be considered an abdication of the responsibility to protect women, but rather a way to fulfill it. Police never investigate most sexual violence because most sexual violence goes unreported. According to the Rape and Incest National Network, or RAIN, a little less than 25% of sexual assaults are reported to the police, significantly less than other violent crimes. There is ample evidence that sexual assault victims who distrust the police are correct. Police departments systematically fail to make arrests in sexual assault cases, and their failures are mirrored throughout the justice system."
You hear two bangs in the middle of the night. You open your door and you see somebody running away. It's Ted Cruz. It looks exactly like Ted Cruz. It is Ted Cruz. You'll find out later. But nonetheless, you see them running away. Your neighbor's door is cracked open, and you push open the door. And you see your neighbor has been shot twice in the head. And a gun is lying on the floor. It says, "Property of Ted Cruz," and it's smoking. What do? You go back to bed? No, you call the police. There has been a murder. Police investigate and go get that person. But wait, Jake, you might be saying, wait a minute, Jake. She's not suggesting stop. For 8 minutes and 39 seconds, she has been talking about abolishing the police. She has yet to address, in this 13-minute, 27-second video, she has yet to address what you do with that scenario. That is the scenario everybody is thinking about. Now she's saying, oh, but wait, approximately 40% and actually in domestic, who gives a shit? Your door gets kicked in while you're not home. Your child is, what's the worst thing that could happen? They're raped and they're killed. I literally wrote about somebody that happened to, by the way. But don't worry. This person on the left says that 40% of... Shut up! You're destroying a good point with this nonsense. I'm almost as mad at this, at bad pitches for left ideas, as I am at any pitch for insane right ideas. Get to the point, please.
According
I'm
to
begging
Rain,
you.
only 4.6% of sexual assaults ever lead to arrest.
Don't care.
4.6. And only 0.9% are ever referred by police to prosecutors.
Irrelevant.
Conviction rates are also lower than for other violent crimes.
Don't
in
care.
part because of police mishandling the sexual assault
Tell us
cases.
what your
Then
answer
there's
is for
this
dealing with
troubling
this
fact.
stuff.
The police themselves are often perpetrators of gender violence, and police
Okay.
house at least
Going
40%
forward.
of the general population.
What are you
going to
do about this?
But outright duplicity counting rapes in its public reported rapes in New York. Latest sexual assault kit, 1,000 untested rape kits in the collect. Top of officers lost their badges in a 6-year period for or sexual misconduct. A 2003 national study by the police conduct involved this neither.
What
Abolition
can you do
is about
about it?
preventing harm and the fundamental recognition that what we're doing now doesn't do that because
Jesus
it's not meant to.
Christ.
Instead, it makes matters worse because it's meant to. Even if we believe that there are just bad, poor people doing violent things, what is solved by locking those people in a box and making them spend every waking moment defending themselves from violence, sexual assault, and other abuses, all while trying to survive the psychological abuses of incarceration? If we also saddle them with fines and criminal convictions that prevent them from ever leaving poverty or the circumstances that led them to prison, not only have we done nothing to address the violent crime that's been condemned, we've given them every reason to act violently in the future. Then those people are released and sent back into the
Okay. I must not understand this. Because here's the thing. For her to have made all the points she's made, which I wholeheartedly agree with, she must know more than me. In fact, I dare say, just based on her talking about her college background, on paper she can demonstrate that she knows more than me. But I go out of my way to tell you guys, your old pal Jake's a bit of a dummy. Real good with people, but I'm you can be a good dog but still be a dumb dog. I'm like a Labrador. I ain't no border collie, but I'll go get the stick when you throw it. I've missed something here. But nothing that she is saying, and this is Peace Talks, we're talking about the peace itself. Nothing that she is saying is of value. Why? You cannot sway anybody with this. She's doing the same mistake I have seen done again and again. I get so mad about this because I do this. This is my mistake as well. It's personal for me because I make this mistake. And it makes me crazy when I realize I've done it. And it breaks my heart to see somebody put all this work into this video for nothing, to accomplish nothing, because she's not talking about the core concern. Safety. Okay, long term, yes, this is a better way to run a system, it sounds like. Except there will still be some people who are just bad, who just need to be arrested. I'm going to look at what the Wicked community has to say. My vote right now is to not watch anymore. Just to make a point of it. To demonstrate that we can't, this is not how we sway people. But let's see what the Wicked community has to say. Hold up. See what you guys want to do with this. Mars Falcon, the state, if only the prison operators have vested interests in fewer prisons, as it means less tax dollars. Yes, they may begin rethinking 5 years for an ounce of weed and other nonsense. Yes. Jim Green says Mars gets it 100%. Dean Oldfield says change the verbiage. Yes, truly, it's just changing how we talk about this stuff. Jim Green says the community on a whole feels like non-persons. I've read that wrong. Patrick Kibido says, don't read me statistics. I have statistics. Exactly. Dean Oldfield says, I feel your anxiety, Jake. Yeah, it's because it's really important. And even worse, it's because she's right. She's right about this stuff. But we need to address that main core part. And if we don't begin by addressing that, then there's just no point. Zick says, well, that's politics in general these days. Lots of problem identification, very few specific solutions. Exactly. I think that's a reason I liked Elizabeth Warren. Same. She was trying. I didn't even agree with a lot of her proposed solutions, but she proposed solutions, and that I agreed with. You have more patience, says Zix, with this video than I would. All right, good. It felt like it was dragging a bit. Mars Falcon, all abolitionists, please front load your case. Thank you. You've said it in one paragraph. It took me ranting for 10 minutes. All abolitionists, please front load your case, making opportunity with what society does with serial killers, rapists, child molesters, etc. I am 100% behind massive reform. Just toss an ally a bone. Exactly. Dean Oldfield says a righty wouldn't even understand most of what she says. Completely true. Dawned on me. She just said to ignore rapists because they're not in prison, according to her. Garbage. Yeah. I would like to see if she gets to a solid solution, says Wireless Mike. Zix using his head here. Catherine, I want to know, does she ever get to a point? How much of this do we have? Let's see. Tell you what. I'll when I upload this later, I will. It's already a 31-minute recording. When I upload this later, I will. I'll link the video, and if she does get to a point, you'll be able to see it in her video. I'll say this: if you can get past the main point of objection, what do we do with the people who are truly, really, genuinely in need of imprisonment, in need of separation? Then the rest of that stuff becomes very relevant. She's debating what we're going to order off the menu before we have decided whether or not we're going to have dinner together. That's the problem. She might have great taste. She might be a sommelier who can recommend the finest wines and pair them with any meal. It's irrelevant until we get to that main core part. That is what we must begin with. And honest to God, I believe. No, I was going to say this is what I believe. Now, I'm not sure. I really don't know this. But here's the impression that I get, and that's what's important. The impression that I get is she doesn't have an answer. And I think, it must be this. It must be that she believes that the answer is obvious. Well, we keep some prisons. We keep some police. We keep some armed people to go do these things. Well, that's not really what abolish means. Abolish means get rid of. So find another phrase. Otherwise, once you get past that, yes, I agree. The really important thing to understand is we have slavery in the United States, and we need to get rid of it. And we need to be ruthlessly clever and smart and realistic about how we do it. That means addressing the concerns up front. And for God's sake, renaming your movement. How about the anti-slavery movement? That's more accurate. Well, y'all, this has been Friday Peace Talks, and I'm going to sound like Gilbert Gottfried if I keep going. I let my voice get out of practice there. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you again for the super chats, my God. And Catherine Wolf, let me be clear. Thank you for the suggestion. I liked the video. In fact, that was important for us to watch. That's exactly the kind of stuff we need to be watching. What's the point of only patting ourselves on the back? What's the point of only watching stuff we either totally don't like or totally do like? No. What you've shown us is exactly what I want us to be watching. Things we do like and can improve. Good. We need to get to all of the stuff she was talking about while first addressing that main objection. This is watching game footage. This is the team. And your old coach is tried his best to point out places we could do better. Catherine, thank you for the suggestion. That was a lot of fun. And that's what Friday Peace Talks is all about. I will see y'all on Salty Saturday. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. My name's Jake.